for educators to come together and have a chance to actually get to know our sitting commissioners as well as our candidates who are running for the Board of Ed this year. My name is Carol Fong. I am an employee of San Francisco Unified, 38 years of service, 15 years in middle school, Marina Middle School, and 20 years as a principal, also program supervisor for our human resources, labor relations, and special ed. So welcome here tonight. I have the privilege this year of serving as the president of the Asian American Association of San Francisco. Our members consist of site administrators as well as central office administrators. Our mission is really to advocate and advance issues that impact the success of our Asian American students, families, and staff. We are committed to increasing our representation at the district's leadership level and to make an impact at the policy-making level of our district. Recent events in the rise of our Asian hate and the increased level of racial tension really beckons us to be more engaged with the election of our political officials. We need our politicians to hear our concerns and address our needs as a community. It is no longer acceptable for our Asian community to be in the background and be invisible. I hope tonight's forum will provide you with some perspective on how these candidates will represent you and our community should they be elected into decision-making positions. We are very privileged tonight to co-host tonight's candidate forum with the Association of Chinese Teachers. So it is my pleasure right now to introduce my colleague, Matthew Allen, at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Fong. Matthew Allen, how are you doing? Welcome. Happy to be here today. I'm a teacher at Galileo High School, where I also coach the women's basketball team and the baseball team, and I'm 41 and 116 in my 6 seasons. Every game's a win, though. It's crazy. Every game's a win. Like Ms. Fong mentioned, I'm with the Association of Chinese Teachers, and many of our goals are aligned in allowing our communities to become more involved. We pay particular emphasis on curriculum and involvement and advocacy and scholarships, where this past year, for the 53rd year, we awarded 32 scholarships. Let's hear it. I'm here today for personal and professional reasons. My family's been in San Francisco for 120 years, and much of what we've achieved is due to these schools and opportunities we had in our schools. My mom went to Lowell, my uncle went to McIntyre, my brother went to Lincoln, my great-uncles went to Galileo, and I'm just really proud to be an alum of the district and to continue the mission that started a long time ago. We're looking forward to hearing from our candidates today, so thank you to the candidates for being here. For the first time, I'm worried about my mom on the streets of San Francisco. It's very sad. She was born in Chinatown. And my brother and I now have to text to make sure that when she goes out, we know where she's going and we can check in on her. And this is unacceptable. And safety starts with our children and our schools. And we look forward to hearing the ideas around creating safe, excellent schools that make our streets safer in the long term. So I'm going to hand it over to my middle school principal, Miss Jeannie Pond. Her first year at Hoover was also my first year at Hoover in 1997. So Ms. Pond's going to get it popping. I'll help you with coordinating questions, but nice to see everyone and have a great evening.
Thank you, Matthew. Class of 2000, Hoover Middle School.
Let's go!
So before we get started, we're going to go over the norms for tonight's forum. So it's here on the poster in front. So meeting norms for tonight: one person speaks at a time, respectful listening, hold your questions until Q&A time, use index cards for notes or questions. Q&A responses will be 1 minute each for all the candidates, and the entire session will be recorded. And for the panel, we're going to do a rotation of responses. And also I want to introduce Cynthia, teacher at Francisco. She's going to be our timekeeper candidate. So she'll give you a 30-second warning to wrap up your response so we could go on to the next question. And also, I know most of you don't carry cell phones, but if you do, please put it on vibrate or turn it off so that we can hear each other. And with that, we'll start with our first sitting commissioner, Lainie Motamedi.
Motamedi.
And I practiced too, Motamedi. And
Rhymes with comedy. Rhymes with comedy.
Obviously, I'm not an auditory learner. And so with that, Lainie, I'm going to read each question. The questions are in front of you, so you can follow along. And each candidate has 2 minutes to respond to each question. So the first question, Asian Americans feel unheard, unseen, and unsafe. Where do Asian American students and families fit into discussions around equity? Lainie.
Do I need a mic or should I just?
Do you need a mic? I was gonna show you this.
And then do you want an opening statement or?
You could definitely have an opening statement.
I'm just asking.
Yeah, it's a 2-minute opening statement and then 2 minutes per question for your.
Okay, all right. Just want to follow the directions.
Thank you for that.
So, hi, I'm Lainie Motamedi. I was appointed by the mayor in March after the recall, and my background is I've been a parent in the district for over a decade, and my parents, my mom, when we stepped out, are retired LA Unified School District teachers, and so I knew when I became a parent I was going to pitch in for the schools, not just for my kids. So I've been on school site councils, PTAs, helping in lunchrooms, yard duty, tutoring in classrooms, like whatever the school needed, I was happy to help. In the office, the Band-Aids on, you know, the whole shebang. And 4 years ago, I was appointed to the Public Education Enrichment Fund, a budget advisory fund that city gives $80 million to the district each year. And my experience at my school sites have been generally positive, and when I started to sit on that committee, I started to see the real disconnect between central office decision-making and what our schools, our students, and our educators need, and the lack of connection between how we were allocating our budgets and student impacts. My background's in state government. I work for the State Public Utilities Commission as a clean energy regulator, compliance, and also a subject matter expert preparing commissioners to make good decisions. I have an MBA and I worked in tech before I made the switch to government, and I didn't think that would be relevant, but with the payroll issues that we're having, it's been really relevant. I used to do large software work, large-scale software implementation for telecommunications, and that's been informing scoping and finally getting that not under control, but at least the attention it deserves. So I'm here to serve. I believe the purpose of our district is we have an obligation to provide quality public education to all of our students at all of our sites. My focus is on student success, fiscal responsibility and good governance, and building trust in this district. Really, really just basic, we need to do the basic work of focusing on our students and our educators. Okay, thank you. And so in answer to the first question, would you like me to repeat it again so people remember, or?
I can read it.
Yeah, okay.
So first question again, Asian Americans feel unheard, unseen, and unsafe. Where do Asian American students and families fit in the discussions around equity?
Asian American students and families fit centrally in the discussions around equity. As a parent who's been engaged in the district for a really long time and been going to board meetings, I've only recently, like in the last year and a half, started to see not only our Asian families come forward and speak to the board about what they want and what they see and what is bothering them, what isn't working for their students and their families, but to do it in language. And I've really seen a shift, frankly, since and during the recall of families feeling empowered to speak out. When I was on the budget committee, this came up repeatedly as far as our budget allocations, and seeing that our families, for instance, on the west side of our city, were not getting the same budget allocations, even though they were still under needing, qualifying for free and reduced lunch, English language learners and so forth, but the resources and the focus of the district was not there. And I'm really interested, I am not an expert in this area, I am really interested, and part of why I wanted to absolutely be here and part of why I've been going out to communities, including monolingual communities, and relying on translation is to understand what the issues are that our Chinese and our Asian families are experiencing in our district, because we know there are many and they have not been centered. And in fact, there's been, I've sat in the boardroom, not as a commissioner, but I've sat in a boardroom as a parent and really seen hostile behavior by our previous board towards the Asian community, and that needs to shift and change right away.
Thank you, Lainie. Okay, the second question. In a district where Asian Americans make up 36% of the student enrollment, there are approximately 15 Asian Americans out of 117 psych administrators.
So I have to tell you, when I saw this question, I did not realize this statistic. Because I had heard for many years that there was actually quite a lot of representation, or historically had been, and so my question is, I guess I come asking how we can improve that. I don't know if it's whether it's better connections to SF State or USF or other teaching institutions, or frankly, our career and college readiness preparation for students. I also am really aware that our payroll issues and the way that the district behaves and has supported our educators has not been supportive of our educators, and certainly hasn't been, we need to do better by our educators generally for recruitment and retention. And I am also very interested in supporting pathways. I was at Lincoln High School and heard from high school students who have participated in higher education pathways to become educators that had really positive experiences, but I've also been told that those are very impacted and hard to get into. So I feel like I'm looking at the experts right now, and I would like to open the door to learn from you about how to improve that, because this statistic is not what I would like to see, and it's not representative of our community, our city, or our students.
Thank you, Lainie. Question number 3. We know that the Asian American community has the African American community has the Ali office that provides resources and support to families. What ideas do you have to provide the AAPI community more resources in the district, given the size of this population?
One recommendation that has come to me repeatedly in the last many months of being in this role has been increasing our family liaison presence, especially in home language. And I frankly, I've been pretty stunned as a parent about the lack of representation of our Asian families in advisory bodies, in other elements of ways to give input into the district. I'm very interested in shifting that. This has come up repeatedly, and I'm very supportive of centering our Asian American voices more centrally in our decision making, and I've been pushing pretty hard internally around this in a number of different ways. But again, I come to you all, and I'm here because I want to hear from you about how to support you rather than to tell you how best to do this. Yeah.
Thank you, Lainie. So question number 4. Over a third of ELs or of Asian descent, there are many of our most vulnerable students and families. How will you allocate funds to prioritize decreasing the EL achievement gap, which has persisted for decades?
Right now, the board has been going through it's been shifting our governance practices, and we've been going out and focusing on our values and our vision and our goals. And for the first time, we're aligning our budget with our student priorities. And a lot of those are around literacy, math, career and college readiness, but also looking into different populations that are particularly underserved and disproportionately affected by, frankly, the failures of our system in supporting their learning. And so I'm very, very interested, and I'm committed to making sure that our budget and our funding is aligned with programming that is focused on closing those gaps, right? We've talked about this for a really long time. I can say all the words that are in posters all over 555 Franklin, but I really, really am pushing to look at where are we allocating funds, which students are being served at which site. We spent a lot of time on this when I was on the Public Education Enrichment Fund. It's really clear that the district has been approaching, this is around a lot of, there's a general theme, there's been a lot of we're saying that we're focused on equity, we're saying we're focused on students, we're spending money, but it's not actually being connected to the student outcomes and benefits to their learning. So that is shifting.
The fifth question. We are seeing a disturbing trend of students fleeing to other districts and private schools. How will you increase the rigor and opportunities for our district's high-performing students? What actions will you take to recruit and retain academically oriented students?
Oh, these are hard questions. It's really
We did our best.
Yes, we have 30, I think we all are aware about 30% of students in our city are not going to SFUSD. They're going to independent institutions or charter schools. We don't have a baseline of programming across our school sites. So parents don't know basically each school site is operated or understood to be sort of a unique entity. And as a parent or a student, you don't know what is the baseline academic enrichment, resources, staffing support that I'm gonna have regardless of which site I'm at. So there's just basic developing clear communication and commitment from the district standpoint, but it's also our curriculum and instruction. We haven't been rigorous about what's really working, whether it's literacy outcomes, math outcomes, science, supporting our ELA instruction and so forth. So the actions really are just to focus on the basics of running a district and operating a public education institution, and also changing the culture so that so there's not this fear of failure or fear of admitting something isn't working, and in fact there's a shift around curious learning, growth mindset, in understanding that even if intention was good, if the results are not good, then there has to be real recalibration, and it's a positive thing to recognize when there has been shortfalls and to self-correct and do the work to improve our outcomes. I'm also supportive of looking at algebra. That's been a huge issue in retaining our middle school and high school students in our system. We see a real drop-off between middle school and high school.
Okay, at this time it's going to be, we have 5 minutes for Q&A questions from the audience, so Matt's going to help facilitate that.
Cards? Okay. Our first question is, if our goal is to increase college and career